Bowe Bergdahl was captured by the Taliban and he was detained for 5 years. And he has not been released thanks to a deal done by the Obama administration, although there's a lot of people who are not thanking them at all, as you're about to see. Now, they had to do a trade. 5 Taliban prisoners in Guantanamo Bay will go to Qatar, and they will remain there for at least a year. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel assures us that they will not be a threat to the U.S., but they were, quote, high-risk detainees, and they were classified by the U.S. government as, quote, likely to pose a threat. And to give you more specifics on that, at least 2 of them are suspected of committing war crimes, according to Reuters, including the murder of thousands of Afghan Shiites, according to a leaked U.S. military cables. Now, there are some who are not at all happy with this, including Senator John McCain. He said, these are the highest risk people. Others that we have released have gone back into the fight. That's been documented. So it's disturbing to me that the Taliban are the ones that name the people to be released. Okay, now the last part of that statement makes no sense whatsoever. Now, when you're negotiating with people and they say, hey, here's what we would like, and here we say this is what we would like, you don't get to say to them, okay, I'll give you 5 prisoners that you don't care about. Well, then they won't make the deal. Okay, so yes, that's what negotiations are about. Now, of course, Republicans, being who they are not interested in negotiations in any shape or form. But now this is a fascinating story because Bowe Bergdahl is a fascinating character. There is a lot of first-hand accounts saying that he left his post. Now, they say deserted his post. That's to be determined later. But that he left his gun behind and walked into the Afghan mountains. And by the way, 6 of our guys got killed looking for him. And now we've been looking for him for 5 years. Now it's cost us 5 more high-risk detainees. Now I think that people in Guantanamo Bay should be dealt with differently anyway. For those who we don't think are a risk, which is still over 100 of them, we should release them as we have said we're going to do. Now these 5 guys are not on that list. These guys were dangerous. We should have tried them. So I have my concerns about this deal. But my concerns are, of course, going to be amped up by the conservative media, who are going to take it to a whole different level. Now, after we watch their concerns, we'll decide what's the correct course of action here. Let's watch.
The United States government did something that, to the best of my knowledge, I can't remember us ever negotiating with terrorists before.
It's clear that it's never good policy to exchange one prisoner for the other. I've not seen that happen.
This is really not a good idea to open up and end a chapter in American history where we don't negotiate with terrorists.
You know, Ambassador Rice basically said to you, yes, U.S. policy has changed. Now we make deals with terrorists.
This is a very bad pattern, and it's a dangerous pattern.
These 5 guys we let go in this negotiating with terrorists scenario here.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel defending the decision to negotiate with terrorists.
I mean, there's certain lines you don't cross when you're doing these things.
And we crossed it.
Some notion that this band of characters, these terrorists, are not going to get re-engaged in this fight in some way is absolutely naive.
They are probably already plotting their next attack.
And maybe in the future, these 5 go back to terror, which a lot of them do, and future Americans that are killed because they're now out of Gitmo.
Have we just put a price on other U.S. soldiers? What does this tell terrorists?
In the next year, while they're by the pool in Qatar, just sipping lemonade and whatnot, they'll be planning, and then a year from now, they'll be pulling something off. It looks like it was simply political. They were trying, the White House was, to put points on the board.
The price we have paid for this is so high.
It certainly looks like a political stunt to me.
And the terms of the deal are very troubling.
Why?
Every soldier who's on the ground should be a little upset by this. I know I am.
Absolutely.
Well, what are they thinking now? What's it going to take to get Khalid Sheikh Mohammed out? How big of a citizen do we have to grab?
Kidnap a bunch of people to get KSM out. I mean, it's just a matter of time. You do this for 5. What are you going to do for KSM?
You know, leave it to the conservatives to take what is an interesting point and make it uninteresting and go so over the top that you can't ever support them. So first of all, I've never heard of trading one prisoner for another. Then you're incredibly ignorant. It's only happened all throughout history. It's prisoner swaps. You do it in war. Oh, well, we can't negotiate with terrorists. But wait a minute now. Chuck Hagel says that in this case, and Jay Carney says the same thing, that they're actually prisoners of war, not a hostage. Now, you saw one of the Fox News guys there saying, well, what citizen are they going to take next? But Bowe Bergdahl wasn't a citizen, he was a combatant. And he was our combatant, and we had captured some of their combatants. We're in a war with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and we do a prisoner swap. So, look, I'm really uncomfortable with that prisoner swap, especially because of the nature of Bowe Bergdahl's exit. I'm one of those guys who think, how ridiculously naive to walk into the mountains of Afghanistan, not realizing all the damage that you're going to do when we go to try to get you, because you know our policies, we don't leave anyone behind. You can't walk into those mountains, but we'll determine those facts later. So I'm uncomfortable with the swap, but it is not negotiating with quote-unquote terrorists. And we call everybody terrorists now, but this is a war in Afghanistan, and the people we are fighting are the Taliban. It's a prisoner swap. It's a classic definition of one. If you've never heard of a prisoner swap, you are ignorant. They happen all the time. Negotiating with terrorists, I'm going to get back to in a second, because that does happen from time to time as well, even though it's not in this case. And then they say that Ted Cruz said there, oh, well, Susan Rice admitted that we negotiate with terrorists. She said no such thing. I saw the interview for myself. He's lying about that. And they say, well, now they're going to plot against us. Were they not plotting against us before? We've been in a 12-year war there. There's a lot of plotting. We plot against them, they plot against us. Let me go to Buck McKeon here. He's and Senator James Inhofe. They're both important Republicans in the House and the Senate. They say our terrorist adversaries now have a strong incentive to capture Americans. That incentive will put our forces in Afghanistan and around the world at even greater risk. Yeah, but they had an enormous incentive to capture our soldiers anyway, because we're in the middle of a war with them. That's what happens. You capture, you kill. We do it to them, they do it to us. It's called war. I mean, the naivete. This problem started with what I believe is Bowe Bergdahl's naivete. Now we have the Republicans like, these guys that we're in a war with, would they try to capture us? No, they wouldn't do that. I mean, I know what they're supposed to just sit there and let us kick the living crap out of them. Now, that was our idea in Afghanistan and Iraq. How did that turn out for us? It turns out they fight back. Okay, so we do have a prisoner swap here. But on the issue of negotiating with terrorists, actually, it has gotten a little uncomfortable because now it's spread to Iran. And listen to this statement by the president. What began as a strategic opening to Iran deteriorated in its implementation into trading arms for hostages. Oh my God. Now we're not just getting our soldiers back, we're trading arms for hostages. And in Iran, I can't believe President Obama did that. Oh, that's right, he didn't do that. That was your beloved President Ronald Reagan. So, Ronald Reagan said that exact quote, what began as a strategic opening to Iran deteriorated, this is his admission, in its implementation into trading arms for hostages. He said it. It happened. There's no question about it. So the conservatives who are like, how dare Obama get one of our prisoners back? Your beloved Gipper. You know how many weapons he sold? Here, I'm going to give you a list of the weapons that he gave Iran when we had him on this list of state-sponsored terrorists. Here we go. August 20th of 1985, 96 TOW anti-tank missiles. In 85, again, 408 more of those missiles. Later, in November of 85, 18 Hawk anti-craft missiles, 500 more TOWs in 86, 500 more TOWs in February 27th of 86, May 24th, 508 TOWs, 240 Hawk spare parts, more Hawk spare parts in August, and in October of 86, 500 more TOWs. Man, that's a lot of weapons you gave to terrorists. Terrorists. What'd you do? You negotiated for hostages, didn't you? Didn't you? Your beloved Reagan is the one who negotiated, and not only negotiated with terrorists, but gave them arms. You're not sure yet? The group that had taken those hostages, what's their name? Oh, look at this. It's Islamic Jihad Organization. How's that for clear? And by the way, at the time, we were not in a war with Lebanon or Iran. The hostages were in Lebanon, but they were taken by groups related to Iran. We were not at war with either one of those countries. This was strictly negotiating with terrorists. And by the way, you know what happened? After they released some of the terrorists, since they got so many great arms from it, they captured 3 more Americans in Lebanon. We learned not to negotiate with terrorists because of the miserable failure of Ronald Reagan. So conservatives, spare me your crocodile tears about how we shouldn't negotiate with terrorists.